Hello again, Struck Club. Today I'm bringing you another build video for Torchlight 3's early access, and this one is a combo between the Flaming Destroyer and Railmaster. I decided to call it the Blazing Train, Railmaster and Flaming Destroyer build, and it's kind of like a tradition for me to be doing the Train Railmaster builds with the Flaming Destroyer ever since the Flame and Tray and Conductor of Flames builds from back in the alpha. So there's the obvious synergy. You've got Flamethrower Car, you've got Mortar Car. I cannot use both of them together, so I prefer using Flamethrower Car myself. And I experimented with maxing out Shotgun Car and keeping 1 point into Shocking Rounds, and vice versa, where I'm gonna be maxing out Shocking Rounds and then 1 point into Shotgun Car. I played on Ridiculous mostly, but I did one run on practice just so I could show you, if you're interested, how the build feels in practice. After this segment here, after this clip here, we'll start the practice right now. So this is now on practice. I'm using 3 train cars, which would be the basic car upgraded for Shocking Rounds, the Flamethrower Car and the Shotgun Car. I'm also using obviously for survivability and mobility Hammer Spin and Blasting Charge to apply vulnerability, along with the extra damage to SWOT from the passive tier 2 bonus of Blinding Flash, Lantern Flash. And I'm also using 3 of the active relic skills, which would be the Big Power Summoning Smash, which also gives us an amazing Falling Swords proc. I'm using Nimble Flames for some Evasion and Novas, which can proc things, and also Cloak of Flames, which can also do a lot of damage, gives us damage and procs things. The things we are procking are Wideload, Cavebreaker, we are procking also Magma Burst and Firestorm, and also from Summoning Smash the Falling Sword. So a lot of things are getting proc, that's why I'm stacking a lot of things that can hit multiple times quickly within a few seconds. Let's show you the skills first. Here we are at the segment where I talk about the skill point allocation, and I messed around a lot with testing stuff. I tested with Shotgun Car maxed out, I tested with Shocking Ground maxed out. I don't know which one is better. I think Shocking Grounds has a bug and the active doesn't work unless you get the tier 3 bonus. Without the tier 3 bonus, the active seems to do nothing, and there's no lightning striking enemies from above. So there's this kind of bug that I've noticed, whereas for a Shotgun Car, the tier 3 bonus seems a little bit underwhelming, but it's still nice, it's still better to have 3 instead of 1 piercing shot, so it's pretty decent. I can't tell you which one I like more, either of them is good, so feel free to take 8 shotgun, 1 shocking rounds, or 8 shocking rounds, 1 shotgun. It's completely optional. Now, before we move on forward to talk about the skills, I wanna let you know that first, keep in mind, I'm using a cosmic helmet that gives me +2 conductor skills, and I've got in the Legendarium cosmic breastplate. Keep in mind, certain things were broken, so instead of using the doom pipe and the shotgunner shield, I'm using Blastbreaker, and I'm wearing a bomb blocker. Ideally I would be wearing a shotgunner shield with chance to slow, built-in defense and some decent block chances, and I would be swatting the doom pipe here, or vice versa. If I'm using a doom pipe with chance to slow, I would be swatting the shotgunner shield instead of Blastbreaker. But since right now shotgunner shield and the doom pipe are not working, you don't always get that endurance bonus, and it's worthless to use it until this is fixed. So right now I'm using Blastbreaker, so keep that in mind. I'm using the breastplate for the +2 slammer, the helmet for +2 conductor skills, and one more thing, this helmet gives me +1 skill level to hammer spin, which means I can get level 10 hammer spin by only investing 7 points, which saves me 1 more extra point, and this 1 extra point I've put into ignition source. So ideally this setup without that 1 point would be, instead of having this point into ignition source, it would be into hammer spin. So now that we've got this out of the way, let's talk about some of the skills that I think are core and must have. Must have skill would be Lantern Flash tier 2, 65% damage versus stunned, blinded and or swallowed extra. This is a must-have even if you don't use Lantern Flash. This is a passive bonus, so any of your attacks or of your train attacks can slow. If you have chance to slow in your weapon or offhand, I decide to go for a shield that gives me chance to slow. So as long as you have something that can slow the enemies, you're good, and you're gonna be benefiting from this bonus after slowing the enemies with the first hit. Normally I would lead in with Blasting Charge to slow them and make them vulnerable with Blasting Charge, and then then do some other stuff. Blasting Charge, another must-have skill. Even at 1 point this gives you the tier 2 bonus because you get 2 bonus points. This extra plus 20 vulnerability percent makes it from 25 to 30% total the vulnerability. So it means the enemies take 65 and 30 for a total of 90% more damage if they're swallowed and vulnerable at the same time. Another must-have I like for survivability is Hammer Spin tier 3. It gives us 6 seconds of 50% damage reduction, and if we hit with Hammer Spin we get another 50%, which leads us to the 90% damage reduction cap. We get 100 but the cap is 90, so we only use 90, but just by hitting with Hammer Spin and proccing that tier 3 bonus, you're getting this Fighter Spirit and this Hammer Spin, which is let me try and show you. You won't see that extra damage reduction as 90%. You only see 50% because I don't know, Fighter Spirit doesn't seem to show up there. But if I were to do a basic attack, for example, let's just do it like this. You see, we get that damage reduction here, but the other one from the Shield of Hammer Spin, it just doesn't get added to this, but it is there. It is there. It does prevent the damage, or maybe it's broken and it just doesn't proc. They might have broken it. For all I know, they might have broken this, because we should be getting another buff here. So maybe it is broken right now and we are not getting that. But when it gets fixed, you would be getting damage reduction from Hammer Spin. So keep that in mind. Right now it might be broken, but when it does get fixed, you should be able to get this damage reduction to show up as 90% instead of just 50. So let's move on to some of the other skills. We talked enough about Slammer. On the conductor side of things, things are flexible. The one thing I would say is a must-have is Flamethrower Car level. Oh, capped, max level. For me it's level 8, for you if you don't have the bonuses it might be level 10. In general this is level 10 with the plus 2 skill level, so keep that in mind. So max out Flamethrower Car, put at least 1 point into shotgun and at least 1 point into shocking rounds, and at least 1 point into build train, and I strongly suggest going for tier 2 build train for the 20% conductor skills damage, and I also suggest going for increased attack speed for train cars, but this is optional. If you don't like it, spend those points elsewhere. You can get, for example, cooldown for Railmaster skills, and that would go very well. I personally think that shocking rounds is very good compared to shotgun car, because with shotgun car you get this damage once every 8 seconds. With shocking rounds you get this damage multiple times for a total duration of 8 seconds every 20 seconds. So it's a 20-second cooldown, but it lasts for 8 seconds. And if you get this passive bonus instead of this one, this cooldown becomes 18 seconds, but the duration would still remain 8 seconds. So when I have the tier 3 bonus and I activate shocking rounds, it starts sending lightning strikes from above. Periodically multiple strikes for a total of 8 seconds. I've noticed that by the time it stops sending the lightnings, the remaining cooldown is 12, so I'm assuming it's 8-second duration for this thing. As I said, the buggy thing about shocking rounds is the activating this skill makes your basic turret send lightning strikes from above that deal 130% weapon damage. This seems to be broken and maybe has been removed. So right now probably it might be better to maybe use shotgun car. I mean, shotgun car is nice and it gets 25% attack speed increase as a tier 1 bonus. And this one stacks with this and it's 35% total and it's pretty decent. So I think maybe if you're using shotgun car, this one would be better. And if you're using shocking rounds, you might want to consider using mortar car. I still use this because it benefits Flamethrower Car a lot. So Flamethrower, Shotgun Car and Ghost Train seems to be the obvious choice, but I wanted to experiment, so that's why right now you see my levels at Shocking rounds. Now, moving on to the Flaming Destroyer side of things, max level Summoning Smash, I love it. And I love that it now drops a sword dealing the skill's current weapon damage onto a random target in a range every second for 5 seconds. More things to proc stuff. The tier 2 bonus is amazing and it can proc stuff as well. And the tier 1 bonus is a proc itself. It says 4 seconds cooldown, but I'm not sure that this really is 4 seconds cooldown. I think it no longer is. The same goes for Firestorm. It says 4 seconds cooldown, but I don't think it really is 4 seconds cooldown, because I've been noticing this proccing more often. I think this cooldown shouldn't even exist here to make it equal to Thunder Strike from the Electrode. So Nimble Flames is something that's flexible. You could probably put it as a 1-pointer. You can even put it as a 3-pointer, or you can leave it as a 6-pointer. The good thing about having this as 6 points is the Fire Nova sets the targets burning, and while they're burning they can proc certain things like Firestorm, like the tier 1 bonus of Summoning Smash, and like the Wideload Cavebreaker. So you've got certain things that you could proc here. So the other thing to keep in mind with Nimble Flames is this skill alone can max your evasion to 40% if you have the tier 1 bonus, if it's 3 points. And it's amazing. So the skill as 1 point or 2 points will give you 20% evasion chance, but with the tier 1 bonus this 20 gets turned into 40, and 40 is the cap of evasion. And the skill creates additional Fire Novas when you evade an attack. So just with the tier 1 bonus you are assuring that you don't need evasion from your gear while this is active. And this is active for 6 seconds and you can use it every 20 seconds. There is no way to get the cooldown down. There are no affixes that give you cooldown reduction to Nimble Flames, or cooldown reduction to Flaming Destroyer skills, or cooldown reduction to relic skills. So this is how it will be, 6 second duration every 20 seconds. I think it's nice with the tier 2 bonus, but again you can go for a tier 1 bonus only with 3 points, or just a 1-pointer and get another 20% evasion in your gear. Keep in mind this can give you up to 12.5% evasion if you max it out. So it's not bad as well. If you don't want to set the targets burning, maybe 1 point here and then 5 points here. Then Cloak of Flames is great. It's amazing. It constantly damages the enemies around us, which means it constantly has chances to proc Firestorm, White Wolf's Cavebreaker, and the Falling Swords from Summoning Smash. Also Magma Burst. When you kill a burning enemy there is 20% chance they will explode, or when you critically hit a burning enemy there is a 5% chance they will explode, both dealing 45% weapon damage. So this is when maxed out, otherwise it's 1% per level on crit hit, and you can see it's I think 4% per level on kill to get those explosions. Another proc, so as I said, this is a lot of the stuff is about procs. Firestorm, the Falling Swords, Wideload, Cavebreaker, Magma Burst, all sorts of procs like this. This one can also randomly shoot fireballs. At the tier 3 bonus, I'm not a big fan of this one, so I decided to stop at the tier 2 bonus here as a cost reduction for Cloak of Flames as level 6. I pretty much am happy about it as a 6-pointer. And this is it. Keep in mind this point is a spare one because this is level 7 with the extra skill point from my helmet, bonus levels 3 instead of 2. So normally you wouldn't have this in the build unless you do like me and get +1 skill level to one of the skills that you have more than 1 point invested into, so that you can remove that 1 point and put it into that skill. Moving on to the legendarium. I already mentioned it at the beginning, but my ideal setup is Cosmic Breastplate, Doom Pipe while wearing a Shotgunner Shield, or a Shotgunner Shield while wearing a Doom Pipe, and the Wideload Cavebreaker. There are other things you can get, like a Blasting Charger, like a Centrifugal Demolisher. They're not bad, or you could maybe, if you don't have a good chest, blue good chest with flat damage, you can wear the Cosmic Breastplate and maybe swat in the Conductor Helmet, or maybe swat in something else. Keep in mind you will need to wear 3 pieces of Cosmic set. I will talk about that in the next segment. So let's talk about the pet skills quickly and then move on to gear. Keep in mind I forgot, throughout all of the footage you see, I forgot to set my pet skills. I forgot to put my crit chance aura. Normally my ideal setup is the crit chance aura here, the healing friendship here, and then battle cry. And for builds on Railmaster I like using stun, because we get extra bonus damage versus sword, stunned or blinded. I know we've got slow, but extra chances to stun enemies is not bad, so I like to use Screeching Stun. If you think you're fine with the chance to slow and blind from your items, you can get Immobilizing Strike then instead of the stun. So that pretty much sums up the skills. Now let's move on to the gear. Here we are at the gear segment, where I tell you about the items I like wearing and the fixes, the stats I like having on those. So there's multiple ways to go on about it. The ideal way for me as a personal preference would be to use a one-handed sword or a mace or a pistol and to use a shield. And the ideal shield would be Shotgunner Shield. You would want something like this level 46 shield, but with a socket. And of course you need defense on the top, block chance on the top, chance to slow in the bottom, maybe some more block chance on the bottom, maybe some extra defense on the bottom, and in the socket you would probably put some more defense. I experimented with chance to shoot a piercing fireball that deals 150% weapon damage as fire damage from block. It's still broken, it doesn't trigger, it doesn't work, but if it did, then I would suggest using that, because this fireball would be able to proc some of the other things. And yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice to use that. As the one-handed weapon, I don't have something perfect. I'm far from having something perfect. For example, if this weapon here, the 59 mace, had a socket, it might have ended up being pretty decent because of the chance to burn. Ideally you would have a weapon with flat damage on the top and the bottom 1 or 2 flat damages, or flat damage and chance to slow if it can roll on it. But as many flat damages you can get is best. If you can get a second flat damage, something with 1 flat damage and crit damage, or 1 flat damage and crit chance on the second row of affixes is okay. And then in the socket you would want another flat damage. We no longer need to match our elemental damage with the one of the relic, so I no longer need to be going for fire damage. Talking about flat damages brings us to the blue chest I suggest wearing and the blue legs pants I suggest wearing. So rare chest, rare pants with flat damage and defenses, or block chances. You don't need evasion with the way I've set up the skills, unless you want to be evading when you're not using Nimble Flames. Then you could get some more evasion, but I would suggest go for defense and flat damage. If you can get 2 times flat damage, great. You cannot get 2 times the same flat, but you can get 2 times different flat. Or you can get a flat damage and then a percent damage. If it's matching, even better. For example, this is a version with 2 times percent. This is not better than having 1 time flat. Even if your weapon is doing poison damage like mine, if I equip this, my DPS goes down, you can see. So I've got fire and poison on my weapon, and I've got ice here. So even if I had more poison or fire here, this still wouldn't have been the better choice. But yeah, the best choice probably would be to have, for example, stacking the same element on the weapon, then stacking the same flat and percent element on the chest, and the exact same flat and percent element on the legs, and then maybe you can get boots with the same percent element, or ignore the element from the boots and just get the cosmic boots. This brings us to the cosmic set pieces. As I said, you need 3 cosmic pieces. I suggest going for helmet, gauntlets, and then either boots or shoulders. I think wearing the boots is better than wearing the shoulders, because with the shoulders you can get arc powered shoulders, which I think for proc builds is a great item, because it gets you charged up, you get movement speed, and you do 100% weapon damage to nearby enemies as like some sort of a chain lightning for those 15 seconds when you activate the big relic power, in our case summoning smash. So yeah, it's optional. If you don't want arc powered shoulders, then equip the cosmic shoulders and then put blue boots that can give you percent elemental damage matching to some of the your highest, in my case, poison damage. It's optional. Crit damage can also roll, so if you can get crit damage on them, perfect. Regardless whether it's legendary or not, crit damage is definitely nice. Another thing to consider is, if you're wearing the cosmic shoulder, you could consider using Wood Beast's boots to give you immunity to stun and knockback, and to increase the crit chance and attack speed. I'm not sure whether it's really great for this build, since we're not going for basic attack and crit chance is capped at 40%. But if you feel the need for extra crit chance, use it. Okay, now this brings us to the pet gear. Dryad's neckband is my favorite, and I would suggest something like this. It would be a good thing. Chance to burn, faster cooldown for pet actives. Alternatively, you can get maybe chance to slow if it exists, or you can get attack speed, because the faster your pet attacks, the faster it's gonna heal you and itself. I'm stacking cooldown for pet active skills in all 3 pieces, which is pretty great. This one also gives me crit chance versus burning on the pets. I would prefer attack speed there, and here I would prefer some more attack speed instead of the bleeding. But I'm using whatever dropped while leveling. But at least I've got 30+% pet cooldown reduction. I'm not sure if I can see how much it is, but I probably can see it somewhere. It's 35% pet faster cooldown, which means he's gonna be using things like the Screeching Stun and the Healing Friendship and the Battle Cry more often. So that pretty much I think sums up the gear. If you're using a two-handed, something like this would be great. Although I would have preferred, instead of 4.9 crit chance over there, to give me chance to slow, and then it would have been just the perfect two-hander to use. Because flat damage, crit chance, flat damage twice, then crit chance, which, as I said, would be better to be slow, and then more flat damage in the socket. And the ideal pet tax would be token of rapid bartering if you wanna be farming, if you wanna be sending the pet to the town quicker. If you don't want to, then my two suggested things would be Invigoration, and if you notice the pet dying often from AoE's Phoenix token. Alternatively, if you don't need the Phoenix token, you can put for this build probably the Fire Nova would be nice. The Shock Nova is also not bad. Anything that does damage would be nice, but since we're a fire build, probably the Fire Nova would be the best choice there. Or you can just go for 2 Novas and keep proccing stuff from the 2 Novas. And that would work pretty nice. This one is every second. This one is when the pet uses active skills, which means for this one you really need to be stacking that cooldown. So this one works very well with the Invigoration. And I think that pretty much is it for now. Let's show you some more gameplay footage. Here we are at the gameplay segment. In this part, at the end of the video, I will be showing you some more footage of the build in action, and I can talk about how I use it, how I rotate the skills. There isn't much to rotate here. It's not like a slammer build where you really need to be rotating, doing the combos with the endurance charges and so on. So basically pop the train, start moving, try to make sure that you're moving around the areas you want to cover with the train. So if there's bosses, try to make sure the train is near the boss. You can even stop the train next to a boss and just get out of danger. In the meantime, you would want to start the combat by applying busting charge around the bosses, around the elites. If there's no elites, of course, select a group of enemies where they're clustered and just do the dynamite there. When you need to escape or when you need to just close in the distance between you and an enemy, or just move around quickly and get that movement speed buff and that damage reduction, use Hammer Spin. It seems like Hammer Spin's damage reduction is broken right now, it's not working, so you only get the movement speed. Or at least I'm only getting the movement speed, but at least you get the damage reduction from Fighter Spirit when you hit with it, so that's still okay. In the meantime, use when you build up enough energy, use the Cloak of Flames and try to use Nimble Flames as much as possible in combat, so you can have those Novas proccing while you're evading. Nimble Flames is also hitting enemies, also proccing stuff. Here you're seeing me using shocking rounds. The previous the previous map footage that you were seeing was with shotgun 8 and 1 shocking rounds. Now this footage you're seeing here at the end, until the end of the video, would be with 8 points into shocking rounds and 1 point into shotgun blast. And you're gonna be seeing those lightning strikes that look like Thunder Strike, the passive from Electrode, and those only happen when you activate the skill, but when you have the tier 3 bonus. They don't happen when you activate the skill and you don't have the tier 3 bonus of shocking rounds, which I don't know why. I'm not seeing anything different between activating and not activating shocking rounds, so it's probably bugged as I mentioned in the skill segment. But yeah, try to use the busting charge, try to keep the Flamethrower Car, shotgun car and the basic car near the enemies, and try to use your aura for the 25% damage buff and to burn the enemies. Keep yourself near the enemies if you want to be proccing Novas. And that's pretty much it. There isn't any rocket science or anything like that regarding how to play the build. Save your endurance for the skills you want to use endurance on as well. So this pretty much sums up the build. If you'd like to get notified when I upload more content, you can subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss the content update notifications. The content you would expect to see on my channel is builds and guides and info news videos, as well as other type of content for wooters of all sorts, RPGs, ARPGs, tactical RPGs, shooter wooters, and other things in between. Thanks for watching, keep it cool, Struck Up, and until next time.